Hello Tribe, welcome back to my channel. A lot of you have been asking me which decks I am using. I used to put decks in description box, but I found it overcrowded. So I'm gonna make a video on it so you can refer to this video anytime you need to find a deck that you wanna get. We're gonna start with the bottom line, I believe. This is in no particular order, honestly. Let's start with the vibe of a channel, which is water, aqua arcana, right? And the first one that we have is Oceanic Tarot, and that's how it looks like. It does have one word on the bottom, chariot movement. For some of you guys, it might be, if you're just starting, it might be difficult to read or remember the meaning of, for example, 10 of Cups, because all you see is the 10 of Cups, but you can refer to the bottom part. But some of these cards are named uniquely, and it's not your traditional meaning. But remember, every time you choose a deck, there is a reason that you do so. So you might need that meaning for that particular person or reading. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the book. That's how it looks like, and it's by Jayne Wallace. So you can print screen it, look it up yourself. That's how the book looks like. You have meanings and advice, which is nice. And these are your majors. So let's move on. Then we've got animal tarot cards. This is a tarot deck, but it also, for me, is a bit like an oracle deck, because you do have sentences on the bottom where you can refer to. It also refers to the timing, season of a year. Every time I pull the purple cards, I know that these are kind of my major cards, and it refers to, when I'm doing a reading, it tells me that there are some things that are the most important, regardless of the timing, if I'm asking about the time. So this deck is also great for, there's one card mixed up, is it? Yeah, from the other deck. Here we go. It's great for spirit animals too. So if you wanted to find out what is your spirit animal, I find this deck quite useful as well. Right, so I'm gonna show you the book. That's how it looks like. It's by Doreen. You can print screen it, look it up. I think it was very cheap, this deck. I was surprised how cheap this deck was, but I believe it's because it's old now. But anyway, this is one of those decks that I use on a side. So let's continue with Doreen. We have Life Purpose, Oracle cards. I don't think you need to see the book of every deck, because I think it's not the most important thing. Look at the artwork and see if you are vibing with it. So for example, travel, your life purpose involves traveling. I do believe, in my opinion, that we should have many more cards including the life purpose, different life purpose, because I do find this deck a little bit limiting. But let me know how you feel about it. It's great, but I feel like I need some more to it than this. But it helps you interpret one's life purpose. You can pull tarot on a side and clarify things, and I think it's great. This deck is great, but I just need a bit of a kick, more of a kick to it, if you know what I mean. So now, let me put everything aside so I don't have it in front of me. We're moving on to Doreen Virtue's Romance Angel. We've seen this deck a million times on every channel, I believe. And I usually clarify this deck with tarot, unless I feel like things are quite straightforward or don't feel a need to. So it gives me more insight to a situation. Moving on to Angel Answers. See, it's in the box. I don't use this deck. I think you've noticed that I don't use this deck at all. I might give it away to someone one day. I don't know. It looks brand new, right, as well. Listen to your intuition, forgiveness. It's up to you. I feel like I get more insight from tarot cards, but for a general reading, it's really good. If you want to use it for general reading, I feel like it's good. Or maybe for some of you, you find guidance when it comes to doing privates too. Everyone does things differently. So it's called Angel Answers by Doreen Virtue. Moving on, let me put that deck somewhere. Moving on to Magick of You Oracle. This deck I like a lot. It does look thin. We don't have million of cards here, but it truly gives one an insight what it is that they need to do, and I think it gives you truth. You know, it's not overly sugar-coated. It's telling you what it is that you need to hear. Honor your mystical creative force, make your dreams real, compassion for others. The descriptions are very nice as well. It says to you straightforwardly if you are doing something wrong or what needs your attention. For example, pause your journey, you know, and then you can read more about it in the book. So today, for someone, I have pulled Fergan card, for example, and I'm just gonna read about bits from it. It says the simple and selfish joy that comes from knowing something good has happened to someone else fulfills and heals the angry, self-pitying soul. See, it's already telling you, maybe look deep inside of you. And sometimes we unconsciously do that and we don't recognize it. And I truly love a straightforward deck. So this is one of those oracle decks that I use and it never disappoints me. And the artwork is beautiful as well. Look at this card. I truly love this card. There's a solution for every problem, right? So it seemed like I just advertised this deck. Can't hide that I like it so much. Moving on to the Urban Tarot. It's quite a big tarot deck. I have to shuffle it this way, but it's a very modern deck for these days. So if you feel like you have trouble, for example, during readings, if you are new to tarot, I always say to people to start with traditional tarot if you can and move from there. You know, we have so many decks now out there, but if you truly have trouble or if you feel like you just want to use it for yourself or not going too much in depth to it, you find this deck very useful because, for example, if you're asking about someone's career, you have very straightforward cards. The gourmet chef, right? Or where I'm gonna meet someone, probably a restaurant. You know, it's very, very straightforward. It's very modern. I call it up-to-date deck, okay? So it's beautiful. This deck is beautiful, specifically when it comes to, I think, careers or occupation or where you need to pay attention to, you know, things like that. Let me put it somewhere on the side. So that's the book, and it's by Robin Scott. Moving on. Whispers of the Ocean. This is a fun deck. It's a fun deck. It's one of those, you know, if you feel like there is something else that you need to advise someone, I find it quite useful, but I wouldn't base my reading off this deck. That's your book, and that's how cards look like. I bought it purely because of the channel vibe, again, like the other deck that I showed you. It's very ocean-like, it's beautiful, it's, you know, for example, you have many skills and can fit into any situation. Take time to assess what is going on around you and adapt accordingly. So I call it a soft deck. It's when you need encouragement or when you need to know how to approach a situation. So example, choose your own path and what is best suited to you. So every time I pull this card, I know that someone needs to go on their authentic journey and don't follow the crowd, you know. But the imagery is just wonderful. It's great. I love this deck. It's quite heavy too. This deck is quite heavy, I must tell you. Okay, moving on. Let's continue with the Oracle. Rebecca Campbell, the Starseed Oracle. You've seen me using these decks quite often. I specifically use this and the other deck of hers I'm gonna show you in a minute. For my personals, I like to use these cards as an energy checkup. What I mean by that, what one's soul is going through at that moment. you know, subconsciously what is happening behind the scenes. Sometimes we might not be able to put it in words. So, for example, soul gifts and training, it's time to step up, you know. And this deck speaks to me through its imagery. Look at this artwork. Learning how to be human in the world but not of it, you know. And why I read it, usually I read this deck from the book because I describe these cards, what I'm feeling intuitively, but the way that Rebecca puts it in words is just beautiful. You know, it's like reading a beautiful story. So that is how it looks like. So this is the Starseed Oracle. The next deck of hers, I believe this is the older deck. These two have similarities, but they're not the same. It's called Work Your Light Oracle. And the artwork is the same artist. It looks like this. And again, very energetic, you know, talks on a soul level, what is going on, you know, maybe what are your gifts, where you might be coming from, etc., etc. Right. I want to show you the other deck that is very interesting, and you've seen me using this deck in videos lately. The artwork is wonderful. I really like this charcoal type of feeling together with maybe pencils, and it feels very earthy to me. I think a lot of people asked about this deck. I've given you links or name for some people. Yeah, this deck is wonderful. Look at the Two of Cups. It's very big and heavy though, but I like it because it just gives me this feeling of richness. The back of the cards, it looks black at the very first, but it actually has this copper brown undertone to it. It's very rich. So I'm going to show you the box. That's how this deck is called. Like, thank you, April, again. She sent me this deck as a gift. And the next deck we've got is a tarot deck, and it's called Healing Light Tarot. This talks to me on many levels, specifically when it comes to action or physical appearances, but I always love for people to start with traditional tarot so that you can read any deck easily then. And these decks, I call the new decks that we have as a little bit of cheat decks. So you have so much imagery to it. You do have explanations in some tarot decks as well. And it's much easier to read them these days, right? So that's how it looks like. It's a bit shiny, so for some people it might be difficult when it comes to having your ring light facing the screen, you know. The card itself depends on your setup. And that's the box. It's by Christopher Butler. Moving on to my baby deck. This is one of my favorite decks. I think you know by now. I bought this deck some time ago and it stays one of my go-to decks. I like the vibe of it. I like everything about it. It's just my vibe, you know. I'm pretty sure I've seen it many times, unless you're new to my channel, but I've seen other people using this deck too. Let me take out the box, because I have a box for this one actually. I kept it. So that's how it looks like. It's by Barbara Moore, the Steampunk Tarot. And I also want to jump into the Steampunk Kipper deck too. Some of you have asked how this deck is called. I believe, or maybe I put this deck face up so you couldn't see the back of it. But it's called the Steampunk Kipper deck. And it looks like this. It's very straightforward, Kipper deck. I really love the imagery of this one too. And these two decks vibe together really well. Okay, moving on to the Texture Tarot. I love this deck. I got it off Etsy. It's a very creative deck in my eyes. It speaks to me on many levels. Every time I choose this deck, subconsciously for someone, when I do a private reading, I know that they're a very creative soul. But this is just my way of seeing things. The artwork is wonderful as well. It's it gives you this feeling of earthiness. I don't know why. Look at that owl in the corner of the Hermit. Eight of Swords is wonderful too. She's got a knife next to it, but she's not moving her hand, so she stays in the same position, right? That's a tiny book written and illustrated by LisaMcLoughlinArt. Moving on. Now for this deck, I don't have a book and I don't have the box. This deck is called Tarot of the Angels and it's by Lo Scarabeo. So spelled L-O and then S-C-A-R-A-B-E-O. This is one of my first decks. It's not the first one because I had other decks prior, but I think it's one of the first decks that I fell in love with, apart from the regular tarot decks that I had. Yeah, so that's how it looks like. Moving on, we have the Triple Goddess Tarot. Now this deck for me, I like because of the facial expressions. I'm gonna try to find a couple of cards for you to show that. Bear with me. I don't know why, but I'm paying attention to people's faces in this deck and it somehow tells me straight away how one person is feeling, you know? Like, I don't even need to know which card it is to understand what is happening there, if that makes sense. This deck I use mostly for how one is feeling on the emotional level, but not all the time. I usually go by what I'm told for every each person who comes my way. If they want private reading, I use specific decks and I kind of tune into their energy to find the one that is needed for them. But look at the Moon card. See? So that's a wonderful one. I'm going to show you the box. Triple Goddess. Let me find the name. Here you go. You can print screen it if you like. And what else? Okay, we have Vice Versa Tarot incoming. So this is a beautiful deck. Look at this. Six of Cups upright looks like this. You have imagery from both sides. If it's reversed, you see someone waiting for someone else. And here you go. That's when these people meet, right? So I love this deck a lot. It almost like one card tells me a story of what's happening to a person and what is happening around them at the same time. Or if I get, for example, this card reversed, you know, we already see that there might be someone approaching your life, someone who's not maybe as present just yet, but they're not too far away. And if it's upright, here you go, you're dealing with someone, King of Pentacles, right? So let me show you the box. Vice Versa Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. Artwork by David Corsi. So good job. Good job. Right, guys, let me see what else I've missed because I've missed a couple of decks here and I'm lost. Okay, wait. I don't use this deck very often on my channel. I've used it once. I respect this deck a lot because this is a serious one. This is the Angel Tarot by Travis McHenry, and this deck together with the Demon deck, they are a little bit more serious, as I like to call it. I don't use them very often in case I need to connect with either angels or demons, which I don't do very often at all. I would ask for guidance from these decks, and they're very well researched. And there is a lot of work that went into these decks. So cards also relate to the tarot at the top. You have description of the angel. It says fertility and fruitfulness assures peace between married couples. So you'd know where you need guidance for or where you need to pay attention to, but I'd also suggest researching that particular deck particular angel or archangel. That's how the book looks like. You also have a bit of information here. So for example, soul guardian for those born from 3 a.m. to 3:20 a.m. See, it's quite specific. There is a lot more to this deck. I would encourage you researching this one. And I wouldn't buy this deck if you are new to tarot at all. I think this is for someone who is already or very experienced or is keen on working with higher energies. Okay, so same goes for the demon deck. People are afraid of this one, but if you respect and you know what energies you're dealing with, and you're aware and you're well researched of the light and the darkness, how they go hand in hand, then you're not gonna have any problems with it. So for example, strength, and you have vine demon, right? It says builds towers or destroys stone walls, causes rough waters, finds witches. And you would use the book as well. You can use it also, guys, as the tarot deck, but I think you can just buy a regular tarot deck in that case. You also have a book that looks very similar. For example, Starless, right? Teaches astronomy and the values of herbs and precious stones. Resonates with the Page of Cups in the traditional tarot. It can give you hints what needs to be paid attention to. Some people are working with such energies, but there is a way to do it. And just be respectful with these decks. That's all. Right. Moving on. What else we've got here? So some people are still asking. I'm just gonna throw it out. A lot of you know that this is my handmade intuitive deck. I do not have copies of it just yet. I might release copies of it in the future, but for now I just create a deck for those people who are coming for intuitive tarot course with me. I ship it for them. They have the original, and I think that's why I love working that way, because no other deck will be the same. But I might be thinking, some of you have been asking me if I'm gonna release a deck like this. I might need to take a holiday for that, because I'm very perfectionist, so we'll see in the future, guys. I do think that I might, and I do have ideas for tarot or oracle deck. I am kind of gathering my resources for that. The other deck that we have is the same, intuitive, but it's copper. Okay, then some of you have been asking me about the yes or no cards. So these are actually, I don't know if some people maybe think that they are printed. They are not printed. It's just my handwriting, and it's the same handmade deck, but it's just very simple yes or no deck. You know, I threw in a couple of cards saying, you know, there is delays, or maybe there are some other reasons why they don't need to hear the answer just yet. Some people are angry about it. I get you. When you have a maybe, when you're asking for a question, right, you get frustrated. But yeah, this is my own deck. I mean, half an hour, buy blank cards, and you're gonna have your own. So then I've got the tea leaf tarot. I don't use this very often for personals, but I use it sometimes on my channel to be more specific. I actually don't have the book or a box, because I have been gifted this deck, so I'll try to find it for you. Tea leaf tarot. Created by, okay, I'm gonna spell it out for you. R-A-E and surname H-E-P-B-U-R-N. Okay, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen this deck in many channels. Anything else? I do believe that these are the old decks that I've showed you guys. Let me see. Let me dig in my desk a bit more. Yeah, these are all decks, I think. If I'm gonna have more decks coming in the future, and if I see I need another new video for that, if I have like 7 more, I'm gonna definitely update this video and release a new one. So I'm looking forward to more comments from you and more readings, and just having fun on this channel. Bye for now.